Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josie. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josie. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josie, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a guest that will be sharing their badassery. But before we begin, I have a major announcement. It's my 100th episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast.
Hey.
Yes, people, I have made it to episode 100. Did you know that the average lifespan of a podcast is only 25 episodes, and 12% of all podcasts don't even make it to episode 2, much less 100. I Googled those facts, so I don't know how true they are. But today is a big celebration for me, so we are changing things up just a little bit. Today's guest is very special to me personally and was a major inspiration for me when I started podcasting. She's not a real estate investor, but you will soon find out what a total badass she is. She's an entrepreneur. She's a coach, a leader, an athlete. She's a dog mom. She's a podcaster, uniting mission-driven humans everywhere. It is my absolute honor to welcome to my podcast idol, the KO herself, Kristen Olson.
Thank you, Jen. I'm so excited to be here. I can't believe you're already at 100. You have been doing work, and I'm a wannabe real estate investor. I have been watching land out here. Denver's absolutely insane, but I take note on what you're doing. So you are my investing idol. So I'm glad we can meet somewhere in the middle there, but I am so excited. This is such an accomplishment. I'm so excited. I told you this before we got on the mic, to have humans like you on the microphone because you're an influence. And I think it's important that the world hears you.
Well, I appreciate that more than you know. I was like, who am I going to have for my 100th episode? And I just had to go through, and I wanted to be full circle because you were there in the very beginning and you're just such a badass at it. And you're so good at communicating and bringing just very innovative shows and what you discuss. And you just have a huge heart as well, which is so very important. So thank you. And I want to dive right in. But before we do that, tell us a little bit about your background. I know you're the oldest of 4 children, and you have 3 younger brothers. So tell us about you.
Well, thank you for all the kind words received. I genuinely appreciate it. It means a lot coming from you. But yes, I am, one of 4. I'm the oldest. I have 3 younger brothers. Parents were longtime athletes. Brothers were all athletes. Back in the day, I was really wanted to do everything my brothers did. They play football. My parents water skied. We were exposed to so many sports. And very early on, I realized all the sports that, girls just didn't do. And my parents are major advocates for always we all got to do whatever, we wanted. There was no boys do this, girls do this. But just because of society, again, this was 20, 30 years ago, how different it was and how far we've come. I remember one story that stands out deeply for me. We went to go golf. I'm still not a big golfer. And my dad was it was myself and my 3 brothers, and I'm the oldest. So I think I was 12 or 13 at the time. My brothers were probably between 7 and 8, 9. They're not that far apart. And my dad was explaining, he's like, oh, we were hitting over here and you hit at that closer tee. And I had no idea about golf. I had never done it before. But in that moment, I was horrified that the girls hit closer. You've never seen me play golf. You don't know how good I am. I mean, I had never done it, so clearly I wasn't good. But I just the idea in my mind is I think I was 12 or 13, sitting there thinking someone's going to tell me what I can't do before I even do it. And I really think that was moment 1 that flicked on for me as a young human, okay, this isn't going to work. And I had no idea how I felt or what it was, but I just knew that there was some fire that was a brewing, that someone needs to change this. And I don't know what my trajectory is, but this doesn't work for me. And I was pissed. upset. And my dad, I think, knew me at that point. He's like, go ahead, go hit from the men's tee. We don't, whatever. And of course I hit it and it didn't even go to the women's tee, but it wasn't the point. And the point was that you're going to tell me something I can't do before I even do it. Right. So that was a very early story that defined much of my next 30 to 40 years. So being that oldest, I kind of had that leadership role early, and I had like this idea of what I now call graceful disruption happening, but carried on with sports through college and then competed in the CrossFit Games. After college, I started a business, lacrosse, around everything, camps, tournaments, team sales. There wasn't a lot of lacrosse back in Colorado. I went to college out east to play. So when I came home, started the biz, and then got into CrossFit and started KO Alliance. And we started doing a lot with strategic partnerships, very similar audience to lacrosse, and facilitating some of these like sponsorships, soon to be ambassadors. If social media wasn't really out yet, we really just started consulting around strategic relationships everywhere. And it was particularly in health and wellness because that was my journey. So that kind of brings us to right now, where I still CrossFit for fun. And we're actually maybe transitioning to competing again, which is a little bit crazy, and doing even more with my company, KO Alliance, and those strategic partnerships.
Well, I know you have something big going on because I said, oh, I'm so glad we're recording later in the day so I can have a beverage during this, but you are giving up alcohol right now, and tell us for what reason.
I know. And dude, you know me well enough to like, if I'm not even going to just have like a beer with you, which is ridiculous. I qualified. So I've been doing CrossFit forever, got out of it. My body was pretty beat up. I wasn't training. The environment was outside of my core values. I didn't know this till later on, but it was really physically and mentally like wearing me down. We don't need to be dramatic, but to the point where I was taken off a team at one point, and I actually thought it was one of the biggest betrayals of my life. And I don't say that dramatically. We've unpacked this quite a bit. I say it matter of fact. So I was hesitant like to even go back to a gym. I just kind of wanted to train, keep the fitness and the mental health in the mix. But slowly it kind of crept back into my world. And then this year the Open, which is, if you know CrossFit, that's kind of like the pre-qualifier for everyone. It's like the one big competition a year. Signed up for it. I wasn't actually going to sign up for it. I was going to do it at my gym, but we got an extra point for our team, which is like a fun community thing. So I went ahead and signed up. And ironically, I've qualified for the Masters divisions, 40 to 44. And so I was like, well, shit, if we're in it, we got to go 100. So we're going to basically cram for this test, cut out booze. I had actually been dialing in the diet and the training and upping it a little bit more just because my body's been feeling good, and we'll kind of press it till it kicks us. So yeah, we've got the Masters qualifier next weekend. So we're cutting out the booze. So I don't, unless it really is necessary. So we're in like cram for the test mode right now.
Well, I'm definitely partaking. So if I start slurring by the end of this, but all right. Okay.
I hope so.
So you're talking about CrossFit, and then before that lacrosse, and your focus that you do in one of your businesses is branding. But I remember hearing a story, and it involved Cliff Bars. And how did you get a huge company like that to start sponsoring and doing things like that? Like, where did that even evolve?
Yeah. Well, so here's one of the best pieces of advice that I can give. When you don't have an answer to something, do something that no one else is doing. And I know that sounds general, and well, what does that even mean? It's like when something's straight in front of you, like you don't know how to get a sponsor, you don't know how to kick the goal, like you don't know how to do something, find a different way to do it. Reverse engineer yourself back to the starting point, go to the solution and reverse engineer back to the starting point and see if you can come up with a creative strategy. This is what my company, KO Alliance, specializes in, because when I came back from college, I went out east. Again, there was a higher level of lacrosse play out east, so where they wanted to compete, D1 top 20. And go out there, which was another good decision of my young self. Sometimes we have to lean back into our young selves, because our old selves, we get washed out by a lot of things. So our kiddo self is what we need to channel. But I came home, started a business, not really, knowing I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but coming off D1 lacrosse in a competitive situation, my coach was great, but again, core value number 2 is independence. Having that control and that structure was not my vibe. I would work hard. I can monitor myself. I don't need the boss thing, was not good for me. So entrepreneur was a very quick decision. Started the business, and lacrosse is a very wealthy white sport. It's expensive to get into. There's minimal diversity. It's actually very much like CrossFit. And at this point in my life, it has provided so much for my world. It's taken me to Japan 2 times. I think we went to Prague. We traveled all over. I had seen other cultures. We got to stay with families. Like, it had really just provided perspective that I couldn't have gotten any other way, and made me so much of who I am today. So to me, as I was building out this company, we did camps, tournaments, team sales, like everything lacrosse. I didn't like that it was getting so expensive to participate. And I really wanted to expose this to everyone because it was so big for my world. Mm-hmm. So, as the sport was growing, my company was growing, the Outlaws, these professional teams were coming, and camps and stuff were becoming more and more expensive. So I was like, there's a better way to do this. What if I got sponsors and, they paid us X amount of dollars, we can deliver consumer packaged goods or show their product or equipment, whatever. And then we can go into places maybe where companies don't, like field days. I knew a lot of teachers, and there's all kinds of kids, obviously, at school. There's no real barrier as far as like income or whatever location. So I'm like, if we can go to field days, we'll bring in, like, Cliff Bar was our first sponsor. We'll bring in Cliff Bar. So that's better than popsicles. It's slightly healthier than what they're already eating. And that's a value add for the school. We'll provide. Yeah. But this is back in the day. I think maybe one school was like ice cream sandwiches, and that was like super varsity for their options. But we brought in like these awesome Cliff Bars. Kid Cliff, I think, was just coming out. And then we got to teach lacrosse to everyone. And at the end of the year, I coached at Grandview High School at the time. I was their varsity head coach. And so I did camps around, then we always made them affordable. And then we supplemented our income with these sponsors, these strategic partners. And we kind of navigated around having to make our camps super expensive. And then I worked with lacrosse companies to get free equipment because we were great exposure for them. So this brand ambassador and like strategic partnership and sponsorship stuff was just like coming together. I didn't call it that. All I did was like think of a better way to where my end game was to expose lacrosse. So I started with the ending, expose lacrosse to everyone. Now, how can I get that? Well, schools are a great place to be. Well, when's a good day? Well, field days are a good way. What can I do that, is great for them? Well, let's take off some of the curriculum responsibility. We'll provide lacrosse. We'll even come in with the product, and they can save them money on popsicles. And then Cliff Bar gets to get into schools where they normally otherwise can't. And obviously there's a major social responsibility on us on what we're bringing in front of young people. And that was always a high priority of ours. But we just kind of, that approach just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And now you kind of see it every day with ambassadors, influencers, but that's really that little strategy is what KO Alliance, my main consulting firm, is today.
And, I was going through all your stuff, and I went onto the website, and on KO Alliance, you have this phrase, and it says, embrace the natural brand, disrupt the noise, reveal the gold that's been there all along. I effing love that. So break it down, because my listeners are real estate investors. They are also working on their brand to get it out there. So explain what branding is.
Sure. So branding is a widely overused term nowadays.
It is.
It's really branding. And I know this, I love cliches. It just comes naturally. So if you need an eye roll or two, just follow your heart. But this is really how we operate at KO Alliance. Branding is who you are. I'm deeply creative. I'm very good at what I do, but I assure every person that walks to my office or my conversation looking to build their brand, right off the bat, anything I can create will never be as good as what already exists within. So exactly the way you are, whatever little idiosyncrasies, maybe you put your seatbelt on a certain way, maybe you love the color fuchsia, whatever, as random as it might seem, those little idiosyncrasies are your competitive advantages. I don't always know right away how they come through or what it is, but those little things, probably stuff you did as a little kid or that your parents could tell you, those are indicative of who your authentic self is. So I love to draw when I was little. I don't do anything creative now, but I'm kind of getting into it. And then as I got older, I did my core values, and I needed to pay for someone to tell me, like, you really love creativity. And I was like, well, no shit. I look back when I was younger, and I'm like, of course you do. But things we have to pay for when we get older, just because that's what we do. So if you're building a brand, go back to your young self. I'd say I have a core values. I've spent lots of money in human optimization and figuring out how to be a better athlete, be a better person, what have you. And the best thing I think anyone can do, especially if you're building a brand, do your core values and truly find out what is important to you. Even if you're building a brand for a company, you are the leader. So if you're the leader of your company, you're a leader of your brand, whatever, every attitude reflects leadership. So if you're that leader, you need to have your shit figured out before you build the brand of the company. I don't care if it's not about you, you're not connected to it, whatever, you are the leader within that. So you need to lead accordingly. And that is fully getting to know who you are so you can walk and talk and then build out a brand accordingly, because then your company needs to have that deep of ethos as well. So step one would really be just getting back to that core values and understanding. And then when you sit down, find out what's important to you. If it's individual and you're building a brand, authenticity and transparency is everything nowadays. So if I'm naturally an athlete and that's what I do and so I bleed, but I really want my brand to be knitting, well, it's not going to work because it's not authentic. So it's got to be authentic to what you actually eat, sleep, and breathe.
So
if it's
let me cut you off here really quick for a second though, because you're talking about your core values, and on your website, which is the KO Alliance, you have a values preference indicator test, correct? That people can take to really see what their core values are. And that's a great place to start, to kind of slap in the face, like you were talking about creativity. And, you know, it'll get you back to that area and give you a better definition of where you should focus it. So keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a company that is not us. We just have the link. We work with them. But it's the best test. There's tons of tests out there and tons of things you can do. But I love it because it's inexpensive. It's a wealth of information when you do it, and you can do it now and then do it in 5 years and kind of see differences. Mine has always been pretty close, but they can change. But anyways, it's super accessible. It's not us. It's a company that does these formally. So we've spent a lot of time going through tests, but I wanted something that was inexpensive, accessible, and like a wealth of information. That's the best one we found. But yes, do the core values. So then you can identify who you are as a brand and who you are as a leader, most importantly. And then build out your own individual brand or your company brand. Quick step for that. It can get very in depth. But I'd write out your core values, even for your company, and figure out what, your mission statement is for your company. And then from there, you can write down specifics. I would start with goals. So like you kind of have your mission statement, then you write your goals. You can do this for individual as well. And then some visual stuff like logo, color you want, and how that kind of all works together. Like red's a strong power color. So if you just start right kind of with the mission statement, your goals, and then like how that looks visually, that's a really good starting point. And then there's quite a few steps from there, but
and listeners, when you're listening to this, like I went through all this, I had coaches in the real estate industry and they made me do this, and let me just read it because it's on my business card. Our, what would you say? Our mission statement is service you deserve, people you trust. Like that was huge for me. And I do have my core values.
Yes. Let's hear them.
I'm going to let you pick them apart. If I can.
Yay. I love this.
So the first and most important one to me is integrity. And we will ensure honesty and fairness in all our actions while always striving to do the right thing for our clients and team. And I added that last part in there because there are so many real estate investors out there that are just assholes to their freaking contractors, and they go through contractors so fast. And I feel like when you find good contractors for your team, or even if it's your closing attorneys or people like that, like you have to really praise them. So you want to make sure that integrity doesn't stop at the client, that it continues to everybody that you're working with. And then I'm not going to go through all these, but another very important one is growth. We have an unyielding drive to increase our knowledge with continuous learning. We will invest in ourselves throughout personal development to better prepare us for future opportunities as they arise. So that's huge for us. We just started another coaching program. We're working with Tim Bratz, and we're now moving on into the commercial space of real estate. I have a goal this year, very lofty goal of
hear it.
101 doors. We want to buy 101 doors this year, and we're 8 in already. So we got to pick up, but hopefully we could pick up like a 50 unit. Anyway, I'm manifesting this goal, putting it out there. So anyway,
I'm here for it.
And I brought Kristen on the show just because she's so good at these things, because that's how she influenced me. And even though she's not in the real estate industry, it's still so very important how you run your business. So anything else you want to add on to that? Like what should you not do? Like what are some major no-nos?
I think it's, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying I think about the people on Instagram, and they do the little videos and they point to certain words, and it's so fucking stupid to me. Like little pop-up words and things like that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, please tell me that's on the way out.
I think my rule of thumb is this, like you, we're very intentional humans. We want to be better. We want to elevate. And that's why I love being around or even connect, even digitally around humans like you, because I know we're intentional about our pursuits. And we're always looking to do like the next thing. Like we want to continue to level up. And that's a really beautiful thing. So I think one of my big life rules is get around people that you want to be like. Otherwise, you will become someone you don't like. So it's critical on who you surround yourself with. It makes all the difference in the world. I don't care if you're an athlete, if you're an investor, if you're a podcaster, get around your varsity people because it makes a world of difference. I even say get around people that are better than you because you will eventually level up. That was my college journey. But I don't think there's some like really in-depth answer here. My rule of thumb is like they say, be a good person, be a good human, just be a good person and treat your business the same way. So if it's not acceptable in life, like you shouldn't just be a jerk to somebody in general. Right. It shouldn't be acceptable for you to be a jerk to your contractor or anything else. Like these are like basic like kindergarten life rules. Don't be an asshole. Like just know, and also know the world is small, and everything that people have gotten away with in the past where it's like, oh, this person has the ego, they get a pass. They think they can go, hit people at the American Awards. Like you think you can do all this stuff. Mm-hmm. Eventually you won't be able to, because our young people know how to find out where you live, where you came from, what your company is about, what you're doing. And this person knows this person, and this knows this person. And that person that you were just an asshole to now owns the company that they are the lender that wants to buy that. Like you just don't do that. Right. So it's that my big no-no is just don't be a jerk, because A, you just shouldn't be, but B, it's a small world and everything is energy. It's all going to circle, and that's what you're going to be bringing in. So if you put out shit, you're going to get shit. As far as like the little social media things, yes, I do think some of it is obnoxious. We are from a different generation, but I also think if it's authentic to you and that sticks for some people, do it. There's many things that I wouldn't do. There's many things that people look at my social media. I know my dad's like, I did this like Whitney Houston one TikTok for my birthday, because that's what you do when you're 40. And he was like, okay. He's like, do we have to do this? And I was like, first of all, you don't get it. So we're now of the generation to like the younger people being like, what is that? So just let everyone speak to their flow. And if it's not your vibe, like I'm with you, then you scroll on by and you do your thing. But if it's authentic to you, who am I to tell you not to do something, you know?
Absolutely. But you see social media evolving in what direction?
So I think social media is going to continue to evolve, but our young people are always ahead of the trend. They're like our little forward-thinking, trend-setting machines, because they don't give a shit. They're just doing what they do. And that's why I love it. And I'm so here for our young people on the rise. And I have so much faith in what's coming.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, it's huge. They're so far ahead.
They're so more accepting of all lifestyles, etc. I could go on about this. Keep going.
Yeah. Well, the upside of social media, there's so many negatives. The upside is that transparency, and then being able to be such a conscious human being, a conscious consumer, to question things, all the things that we grew up with. It's either Pepsi or Coke, and this is what you do because we said so, and da da da. Now that's not a thing anymore. So it's weird that back then we didn't question it at all, and now they question everything. So it adds this opportunity for them to make more choices, and that then in turn takes away the power from all these larger companies. Sorry. Thought that turned off. Anyways, so it's a big deal that they now have all this power. Now you see our large companies that have always done things the way they've done, just like investors that are jerks to contractors. You can get away with it now, but eventually that's not going to work. So if these big companies don't pay attention to what's actually going down on the ground, they're going to get naturally selected and wiped away because they're leaning so heavily on social media, and they're kind of late to the game anyways. Social media is the vibe now. Your company's got to be in it. Your personal brand has to be out there. I always say do it authentically to you, and don't hate social media, because that will come through energetically in everything you post. My step one always for social media advice is learn not to hate it. Like find a narrative where you can understand how this is a joy or it's good for your business, whatever it is.
I get a ton of business from social media.
Yeah, we got to embrace it. Yeah. As smaller businesses or entrepreneurs, it's phenomenal. When I was starting up and I didn't have social media with my lacrosse company, it would have been a game changer. We made it. We're still hanging in there, but it would have streamlined so much and opened up doors. So find the positive narrative. But truthfully, I don't think you get around young people nowadays. They hate social media. It's too much. They don't believe it, or they get on it because they're bored. And some of them still like it. They want to grow up and be an influencer. I suppose that's the number one desired job of our young people. So that's hilarious in itself, but follow your heart. But I think it's going to become taboo. I don't think the overexposure is going to be very cool, very long. It's just like how Facebook was the jam, and now the only people on Facebook are like our parents, our grandparents, and then everyone's on Instagram, and now TikTok's coming up, but that's even younger. So it's going to continue to filter through, but my long-term prediction is it's going to become very taboo. It's not going to be cool to put all your shit out there, and we're going to go back to formal word of mouth.
I love it. Thank you for that. I remember speaking to you 2 years, well, a year and a half ago, I guess it was at the end of 2020. And you had told me about, we were just talking about marketing stuff. And you said, nobody's doing the email marketing anymore. So you go to websites and it's like, get added to our list. And then you get a fucking email every other week. And it's like, and I'm so like, I'm like, oh, Kristen Olson, man, she nailed it. These things, and they're annoying. And there's like, I keep Hal Elrod's. That's the only one that I will still continue to.
I know you love him.
I love Hal. I love him. He said my name one time. Anyway,
I was there.
Hal Elrod, I love you. Be on my show. So, yes, it's just one of those things where, I love how, and I go to you, you are my go-to person. So I want to transition this because I want to give a shout out to your podcast, which was an influence for me. And I want to know how you got involved with podcasting.
Well, thank you. It's been a journey. I'm by no means, I love it. I think we're good expert talkers and we're good, like people. I think if you're a people person, podcasting is your jam because you get to it's another avenue to connect with people. And it's a natural fit, but the audio side is not who I am at all. So it's been a journey to learn. The audio has been a situation. I think I've just randomly had some, just like my Focusrite. Some of my equipment has just randomly not worked. So I don't know if universe is challenging me or what that is, but we're out here. We're going to figure it out. But I got into it because I was doing marketing and branding. We do a lot in health and wellness, from nutrition to consumer packaged goods to services, fascial stretching, you name it. I've done it in human optimization, neurofeedback, brain mapping, blood testing. We've done a lot. So I've run circles around a lot of health and wellness things. And I started managing influencers that have been on reality shows, and they have power, meaning they have a lot of followers. And as I was going to some of their events, I saw the kind of people that were following them. And these weren't necessarily like athletes that were super exposed to like the journey I had, where I'd had all this exposure to these like really high-end human optimization opportunities. They were more, I want to say probably like lower socioeconomic status. So lower income, probably not as high as education. This is an opinion. This is like my observations. I noticed how influential some of these humans were, and they didn't necessarily know what they were talking about. They just happened to have abs and be on TV. So I was like, there's a lot of power here. Like something needs to change. And as a marketing and branding professional, I'm very big in old school philosophy, Plato, Aristotle, etc. To sum up all philosophy, to live is to suffer. So we're figuring that out. But watered down, reality is nothing more than applied meaning. So that means anything that we're consuming is creating our reality. I call this a cup because I grew up and this is what I was told, it's a cup. Everything, we're applying meaning to these things. This is how we communicate. Well, you make that to larger. Now, how are most people digesting their realities? Through their phones. So our young people are seeing these influencers as gods and understanding like this is what they say, like that I should eat like this. And meanwhile, influencers are saying this because X product is saying that. They may not even actually take the product. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, this isn't right. Like I have a moral and social responsibility to start telling the damn truth and highlighting what's going on. I'm not going to be the popular voice in the room. I'm not going to, not every company is going to love me. Even with the email thing, I think it's hilarious when everyone's doing this funnel system and they're like, give me your email, put me on Facebook. And then they're just sending out constant, like continuous content. It's like, shit, I don't care about. And I'm like, I'll probably not unsubscribe because you're my friend, right? But I don't give a shit. And this is a lot of energy. You're just doing this because some marketing guru told you to do it. And it's tired and nobody wants 50 effing emails, especially our young people. Yep. So and then it's annoying. And then now they're annoyed off something that probably shouldn't be annoyed because you actually probably have a good product or mission. So that's an old school approach. So, there's like my very long take on that, but started the cast mainly to just start telling the truth and highlight humans like you that are in varsity situations, intentional about how they live. I didn't care if you had 1 follower or 1 million. I think everybody has a story and has such resilience. And I knew somehow faithfully, like the right people would just come. I didn't do this very strategic process where I had like this business plan and whatever. I just was so compelled to just get on the mic. It was sloppy. It's messy in the beginning. It still kind of is on days, and just start getting the word out there about the truth. And I knew the right people would hear it. So that was kind of my why.
And it's called Turmeric and Tequila. And by the way, turmeric is spelled with 2 R's, Turmeric, because I kept looking for it. I'm like, Tumer. And I was like, damn, there's a fucking R in there. Anyway, so it's turmeric and tequila. So how did you come about with that name? What does that mean?
Well, branding pro tip, get something that's easy to spell because when people can't find you, that's a problem. But I was the longtime athlete. Like I'm so here to eat well, whatever. But then when it's time to have fun, like we're going to be the best in the party as well. So I think it's critical that you have fun. And in lacrosse or CrossFit, everyone's like counting their macros and doing all this. And they're like, oh, you still drink tequila or whatever. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm still going to the game. So like, come at me. We've learned balance a little bit over the years, but I hated being put into like this box of like, you're an athlete, so you don't do this. Or just like in my golf story in the very beginning, it's like, oh, before I say anything, because I do fitness and that means I don't party or have fun. Like why are we, so intense on this like really intense branding? And keep in mind, Universe has a very sick sense of humor. So here I am like disrupting branding and like narrative. And what do? I'm a branding professional. So even that like doesn't make sense. But turmeric and tequila is the juxtaposition of being all things. Turmeric is an anti-inflammatory. It's one of the most powerful roots you can eat. It's super healthy. It's traditionally in like curry and like Indian food. It's awesome. It's orange. It stains everything. So that's hilarious. It's strong. So I love that. But it's great. I cook it in everything. And then tequila, I'm actually here for. It's plant-based. Agave is good for you. Everything in doses. Even fitness, too much can be too much. So it's moderation. It's about celebrating all the sides and, being all things. You don't need to fit into a box.
I love it. It's so creative, and I love how you have the T's on there, and it's just a great logo. And I was honored to be on your episode number 70. In fact, I listened to it recently, and I told this story. We originally recorded, we met each other through PodMax. So shout out to PodMax, but that it didn't record. And then, so I got to hang out with you a second time, which was, just the universe putting us, closer together as friends. And so we had just bought the house next door. Actually, we bought this condo and now we're renovating the house next door. And I was with my GC at the time, and we had to go to just this little hardware store to get a fire extinguisher and some stuff to put, an outlet together. And so, contractors, they all have the white trucks. So we go inside and we're in there, whatever. And then we're walking outside and, I'm not really paying attention, and I'm getting his truck and I'm sitting there. I'm like, what the hell is he doing? And I'm looking around and I'm like, wait a minute, whose truck is this? I had totally gotten in somebody else's truck, and I look down and he's like 4 cars down and he sees me. It's like, I know. So yeah, I had totally forgotten that until I re-listened to it, but I was like, holy shit, that was hilarious. But anyway,
that's when I knew we should be friends, because that kind of stuff, I swear to God, happens to me. Like, it's like perfectly like the same kind of car happens to be unlocked. Like everything goes wrong just for something to be like just right for it to be so wrong. It's hilarious. So there's some sort of energy vibe that we both have. And I'm so with you. I identify so strongly.
And I have to also give a shout out because you have this beautiful blonde hair. I don't see your headphones. Oh. You have you hide it so well. It's so, I'm like, damn, she is so skilled at this podcasting thing.
But keep pushing that to the brand so people don't go listen to the beginning episodes when it's hot. Or thank you for being so gracious. We went to initially record and it didn't record. Nothing is worse if you're a podcaster, you have this fabulous conversation and like your heart sinks when you see that it didn't record. So I really genuinely appreciate you being so gracious, because it's brutal. It's happened to me twice. Yeah. And it just rips your heart out. So I'm so glad Universe was looking out. We got to have 2 conversations, but yes, keep telling everyone we have everything together here.
Yes, totally. Absolutely. Yeah. So you all can see why I have just this girl crush on her, because she's such a badass, Kristen, and KO in the house. But I do want to give a shout out because I do want to talk about this brand ambassador course that you have coming out. And when this episode 100 is getting released, your course should be live and running, right?
Yes.
So what is that all about? Yeah.
I'm super excited about it. It's been kind of a work in progress, and I've just been pressed to get it out. Again, more than just like the financial, success. It's really about graceful disruption and disrupting what's going on, because you see what's going on in Ukraine. We see what some of these larger conversations are happening, and it's overwhelming to think like, what do I do? Like, here I am, podcasting, and it's like, does any of this even matter? There's just big stuff going on in the world. And then you just have to kind of, again, go start with the problem, work your way backwards. Well, I can't necessarily do anything worldly right now. I can donate, I can show up, I can contribute in those ways, of course. but like, what am I doing really for future generations? What's happening here? And this is different for everyone, but like, find the space that you're good at. I was watching Is It Cake on Netflix, which super sophisticated individuals, that's what you watch, of course. And it's a contest of like,
I've totally watched it as well.
Okay, good. It's a perfect like sip your beer show. If you don't know, these extraordinary bakers bake these cake, and then guest judges have to find out if it's a real thing or if it's a cake, and they look so real. So I was watching this guy, one of the bakers, and it's one of the early episodes, and he's like, I see what's going on in the world, and here I am just like baking cakes. And it really stuck with me, and I was like, but dude, you're so good. And I'm thinking like, wait, this is exactly it. This is the point. You are changing the world by baking a goddamn cake, because you're doing that. I'm talking about it on a podcast. He doesn't know who I am. It's had profound, deep thought for me. You are showing up in this world with your skill set, providing your core values. You're making the world a better place your way. So if you can do that through baking a cake, through doing a podcast, making a business, being a parent, whatever, find that avenue. And in that ripple effect will make the world a better place. So I am good at relationships, creative strategy, drinking tequila, doing fitness. So I wanted to be like, okay, well, I know if I can understand how to build my message, build my brand, build my company. I know how big word of mouth is, and building these brand ambassadors are so critical. So you have your thing, you're passionate about it, then you find like-minded humans to reverberate your message. If social media goes out, then you still have your humans, word of mouth, but you have these people passionate about what you're doing, which in turn fuels you. They're now going out to communities saying what you do, sharing your gospel naturally. Everybody wins, just like my lacrosse story 20 years ago with Cliff Bars. So I'm passionate about companies seeing this, of how to build your brand ambassador team. So, and it's specifically for mission-driven humans and companies. So the companies like Tom's or anyone that's giving back, you can do this, you do the course, you learn how to recruit your right people, how to continue relationships with them, and build your tribe, build a community of supporters, ambassadors of your community, of your brand, your service, your investing company. And then they in turn continue to reverberate the gospel, and they find humans that are like them. So this continues to build, and beyond sales and service, you're building out a community. And again, top core value for me, you're surrounding yourself with people that you want to be like. So it's this, everyone wins. The success, the money, all that will come. Our days are finite. Get around people you want to be like, and do stuff that you actually want to do, which ideally is your company, hopefully.
And real estate folks, when you're listening, you've got to branch out, because there's so many people in our circle, and you've got to be exposed to people who do other things. And that's why I felt it was so important to bring you on the show. And how do they find this course? How do they sign up for it?
Yes, everything. I have the value preference indicator, your core values. That link is up there right now. And we will have the course up on KO Alliance. And I think it's going to be on Teachable. So I'm making it as affordable and as accessible as possible. We're completely open to all feedback, but I'm really excited to get out there. And 100%, I just did this course specifically for podcasters. We're doing it for mission-driven humans, but it doesn't matter what the company is. Like if you're thinking, I'm a real estate investor, why would I need ambassadors? You absolutely do. Get your crew around you that is supporting RAIN or your cause. They're talking about it, and then you bring someone else in, and it just builds. So it's really just authentic humans reverberating whatever your company gospel is.
Well, I can't wait to do it myself. So I will be first one signed up as soon as it's released. So thank you. And we are going to go into the second half of the podcast now. And I like to share with my listeners what makes Kristen Olson a badass. So I use the acronym BADASS, and the first letter is B for book. So what's a book that's made a huge difference in your life?
So I'm not a big reader. Well, we're changing that. We're reading more now, but growing up, reading was not my jam. I was very much a visual learner, which I actually think a lot of kids are. And I'm probably undiagnosed dyslexic. I've done brain mapping and stuff. So I know actually my brain is like how I speak. It's very fast. So I process very quickly. But then when I see stuff, I'll really read some things backwards, especially in the gym. So anyways, I read Genuine Authentic. It was the unauthorized biography of Ralph Lauren, and his name is actually Ralph Lifshitz. So if you know the brand, how high-end it is, yes, you can see the irony in his name going from Lifshitz to Ralph Lauren. So it's a very hilarious branding story right in that. But what I think I read it when I was just in college, or just getting out of college. And I don't even remember why I got it. I'm a wannabe fashionista. Eventually I want to take my Turmeric Tequila and do what I'm calling cause fashion. We've designed a couple of jean jackets. Jen, I'll actually have to send you one, because I feel like you'd rock it, and you've got the spunk to do it. But we partner, we get it from some of these high like low end quick retailers like Forever 21, because they're such polluters. So I want them to give us some of their stuff. We'll brand it and then we'll pick different causes to sell it and give it back to you. Like our first one is Black Lives Matter. So we got like 20 jean jackets. We're going to sell them and we're going to give to a cause. So anyways, I was a wannabe fashionista. I was reading this Ralph Lauren book. And it wasn't really about the fashion that struck me. It was his journey. He got into he took 3 ties and he somehow sold them to, I think, what was then Nordstrom in New York. And 3 ties went from what he is now, or from back then to what he is now. And it's extraordinary to hear how they navigated some of these strategic partnerships and these relationships with different retailers. And then they had like lower end brands buy them like directly from different, I think it was like JCPenney back in the day or whatever. But just seeing that, I didn't understand then, but it was very much kind of what I did, a very watered down version with my first business. So just kind of this creative approach, not saying no or not taking any no's and finding ways around stuff that he really went from 0 to one of the biggest brands in the year or in the world. But my biggest takeaway was his approach that was different. And it was around the perfumes. Instead of just selling why it smelled good, whatever, in his marketing, he created a lifestyle. Oh. So in every ad that you saw, or like back in the day in New York, they did big, like the window things where
displays.
Display. Thank you. The displays. I need alcohol. And those, that's how people consume their marketing. And they created this lifestyle. To this day, Polo's phenomenal at it, that you want to be like. So that was very indicative. Nowadays, you don't need to create it. You just need to show what you're already doing. So. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Wow. Okay. I got to check that book out. The first A in badass is advice. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Well, I would lean what I kind of already said, be around people you want to be like, number 1. And number 2, this is for your real estate investors, truthfully invest in yourself, not cliche self-care or anything like that, but truly get to know who you are, core values, appreciate it, and invest in who you are and what you believe in and what you really want to do.
Huge. Totally huge. All right. The D in badass is drive. What drives you to be successful?
To disrupt some shit.
Yes.
I am not a battler. I'm not a fighter like that. I'm a competitor. If you hit me or if you come at me with like something that's going to hit my heart, like we'll battle, but that's really not my vibe. That's why I say graceful disruption. But we are here. Core value does not surprise me at all that integrity and honesty is in your mix. I always find my humans that are like-minded circulate. The truth is really important, and telling the truth. I feel deeply protective of our young people and what's coming at them because they are our future. So I am here to somehow be as useful, be one of my favorite quotes. And I know that's part of your questions, but I'd rather it be said he lived usefully than died rich. I think it was Benjamin Franklin. And it's not so much about the money. It's like, just find your idiosyncrasies where you're good, be useful in this world. And I think part of that for me is questioning a better way and disrupting some of these things that I think people think they have to do and they don't.
I love it. I love it, love it, love it. All right. The second A in badass is aspiration. I'm a big goal setter. So what's a goal you're currently working on besides avoiding alcohol?
That's not a goal. We only got 2 weeks. Okay. The goal is to get back to it. No, I'm just kidding. It's serendipitous that this conversation's happening. And I think you probably noticed as a podcaster, every time I intentionally sit down with my guests, like, I'm like, oh, this is going to be so great for my audience. And I was like, oh shit, I needed that. So this is very serendipitous for me, but a goal for mine. And like, I've just had this deep internal awakening and I think I've been scared to want it, but I do want to go back to the CrossFit Games, and I can't believe that's coming out of my mouth as a master. This year's ambitious. We're competing in a week, but next year. And I have so much fear around that because I didn't exit CrossFit. It wasn't super bad, but it was just, I was worn out. And the environment was brutal. So getting back into it, I have a lot of fear around it. I'm fully being open. But I know somewhere deep down, like I can truthfully do it. So that's a goal. And that scares the shit out of me even saying it, because I don't want to beat my body to shit, but we're going to show up. We're going to compete.
I have no doubt you're going to totally kick ass. You're such an inspiration to me. So you've got it in you. Just, it'll come out. It's that, what was that saying you said? Reveal the gold that's been there all along. Those are your words, lady.
I know.
All right. So the first S in badass is systems. What systems do you have in place to help you achieve success?
Oh God, again, this is why I'm excited for our young people. It's taken me so long to get some of my shit together. I'm Turmeric and Tequila. Like I was so good at some stuff. And then girl, my bus is late on some other things. I don't know why, but we are just all over the map on some stuff. I've always been very intentional, always driven. I'm good. Like I'll do my own workouts. Like I don't need a boss. I'm one of those that will get my shit done. On the flip side, I was not like the athlete that wanted to count my macros. That was weighing your food is no, we're not doing that. Like you show up, if you're an athlete, you're an athlete. In CrossFit, it's like you change your shoes for this. And did you do your right pre-rack out? And, blah, blah, blah. And I grew up in the thing of like, no, you're either good at what you do. It doesn't matter what shoes you're wearing, whatever. So I'm still both those. That being said, I'm on, I think, day like 400 for my meditation. So I have a morning routine that's critical. Hal Elrod, your boy, was a little piece of that. So I got the morning routine, and then I did just start counting my macros for dialing in the nutrition. And as much as I thought that I would hate it because it's so structured and it like tames my free soul, I'm really enjoying it. And so stay open-minded, y'all. Stay open-minded to new things. These are my own words, kicking my own ass, but the morning routine, the nutrition is critical. And then, as I was saying, taking care and investing in yourself. I'm getting back into chiropractic stuff, the physical things, and then also just taking a break. Are you good about taking breaks?
I'm not.
I believe you.
I kind of miss being sick. Like I feel like you have to get sick sometime just to knock your ass out and stay in bed all day. But I'm just one of those people where it's my passion to be out there and keep going. But yes, I do have to step back sometimes. But when I do have good times, I have seriously good times. I go 1,000%. So trust me on that. But I want to ask though about your morning meditation. Do you use an app, or what do you use to meditate?
I do. I use Headspace and it tracks your day. So there's some sort of like tracking there where it's like, I don't want to miss a day. Like I want to do it, but it also is like, even when I'm traveling or we party, like no matter what, I get that 3-minute meditation done. And some days that's a tall order. But I use Headspace, and then I journal, I write down affirmations. I say them out loud, and then I do a quick visualization, and then I don't do a workout in the morning, but I go straight to my workout. That's like one of the first things I do in the morning. So, it's pretty quick. I get up an hour before I have to leave for anything, and I get everything done. So it's not too in depth of a process.
I have been using Calm, the app Calm.
Oh, my mom loves that. Okay.
And I'm on like meditation 900 something. So I don't do it every,
you are.
I do it, I try to do it 5 days a week, but I don't do it on the weekends all the time. But I got to share with you. We just bought the Oculus Quest 2, the virtual reality headsets.
Oh, okay. Tell me about this. Okay.
There's an amazing meditation app in there. So it's called Supernatural. Shout out Supernatural, I guess. And you are sitting and you look all around you and you're on top of a mountain and there's birds flying by. It is the most amazing thing. So that's been my latest, I'm obsessed with it. And actually, there's this lightsaber game, and it's like you're hitting, and I literally hurt my rotator cuff. So you miss CrossFit. I'm at the fucking chiropractor. I'm like, I hurt myself in virtual reality. And he's like, I'm just not going to take that note in your file there, Jen. Sorry about that.
Oh no, don't get me wrong. Like you said with the truck story, I'll be doing like heavy lifts, and then they'll be like, what happened? I'm like, oh, I was trying to, literally this happened, smack my dog out of the way, and he moved because he's a noodle. It's funny. And I hit a finger on the fence, and like I think I broke my knuckle. So like, no, I'm with you. It's okay. Lightsaber is a better story than hitting the fence.
And I'm also big on affirmations, and this has been my one recently, and I love this one. My current affirmation I've been getting in my brain is, my new reality is choosing how I want to live instead of settling for what I get. Because I was in that for a rut for a long time and just taking whatever came my way. Yeah. So I appreciate you allowing me to share that, because that is, you've got to change that mindset and go for it. We're in the middle of the acronym here, so I don't.
Well, wait, but I think I got to give you props. So our very first conversation when I first met you, that is exactly how I would have described you. Because we talked about our conversation. You're like, I was a school teacher. I realized I didn't like kids. And then you guys took a major leap into this real estate business. And I think in that moment, you realize it or not, that is when you made that choice that is now your affirmation 2 years later. But like, girlfriend, you've been doing that for a very long time. Like you embody that. That's how I would describe who you are and like your whole vibe.
Well, I appreciate that. I was in it for a long time, and then it just started, I started forgetting it. So
yeah, I hear that.
Thank you for allowing me to share that and announce it publicly to the world. Anyway, I may have to edit that out. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So the final S in badass is success. What does success mean to KO?
Freedom. 100%. I'm here. I've had a lot of narrative around money because playing lacrosse and some of these wealthy sports, you see like big money, like oil money, not just rich, like next level. And it's a whole different society and it's a whole different vibe. So my narrative around money was like a little bit different, but we're here for cash. We're here for all of it because it in turn will go to impact. But success really to me is having time freedom, financial freedom, like being able to truthfully, as you were just saying, live the life you want and make the choices you want to choose, not choose what you have to choose or take what's coming at you. I think that is success. And when you have that freedom to emotionally and physically move and maneuver and have that space, I think that's when good things come in. I think that's when self-actualization happens. And most importantly to me, I think that's when you can get to that space where you are your most useful self for the rest of the world. So then it becomes, it's not even about you anymore. It's you walking in alignment with what you're supposed to be doing. So you are as positively impacting the world as you possibly can.
Well, I reap the benefits of the fact that you are a mission-driven human yourself. And thank you so much for sharing this celebration with me. It's like full circle. And like, how about those facts though? Like I read the one where 12% of all podcasts don't even make it to episode 2. I'm like, what? Really? That was
Crazy.
on Google. Anyway, I just Googled it.
It's insane. This is such a huge honor. The 100th episode, I'm so impressed, but I'm so deeply blessed to be a podcaster, to have humans like you come through my world. Like it's amazing that we get to do this and we get to connect with people that are like us that we otherwise never would have connected with. So it's a blessing. I'm so proud of you. 100's huge. You caught up fast. I'm to get my ass in motion here. And I appreciate it. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, you are the absolute best, and you all need to check out Turmeric and Tequila. Go to KO Alliance and check out her courses. Kristen, thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, Jen. I appreciate you.
And that is all. Thank you for listening. We will catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery. And don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josie by visiting therealjenjosie.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.